You were told Mary Magdalene was a harlot, a broken woman, a sinner saved by grace. But what if that story was a cover-up? Because buried in the shadows of history and preserved in banned gospels the church didn't want you to read is a very different Mary, a teacher, a mystic, a spiritual equal to Jesus himself, and maybe the one who understood him better than anyone else. Let's start here. There is zero biblical evidence that Mary Magdalene was a harlot. None. The Bible never calls her one. Jesus never accuses her. It's not in the text. That story? It was invented in the year 591 by Pope Gregory I. He conflated 3 different women in the Bible into one and slapped the label of harlot on Mary Magdalene. For over 1,000 years, that lie stuck. Why? Because if Mary was a spiritual authority, if she was more than just a sinner that was saved, that would completely flip the male-dominated religious structure on its head. So instead of elevating her, they erased her. In 1896, something changed. A fragment of a lost gospel was discovered in Egypt. It's called the Gospel of Mary, and it's attributed to Mary Magdalene herself. What's in it? A vision of the soul's journey after death, teachings about overcoming fear and illusion, and this bombshell, Mary comforts and teaches the disciples after Jesus' death. Peter questions why Jesus would choose to reveal these things to a woman. Levi defends her, saying, "Surely the Savior knew her very well. That is why he loved her more than us." This isn't a passive follower. This is a spiritual leader. All 4 Gospels agree on one thing. Mary Magdalene was the first to witness the resurrection. Not Peter, not John, not any of the 12. It was Mary. And what did Jesus tell her to do? Go and tell the others. He chose her to deliver the most important message in Christian history. That death wasn't the end. That's not random. That's trust. That's spiritual alignment. And yet, she's been reduced to a footnote. Another banned text, the Gospel of Philip, says this: "The companion of the Savior is Mary Magdalene. Jesus loved her more than all the disciples and used to kiss her often on the mouth." Scholars debate the translation, but the deeper point stands. She wasn't just a follower. She was close, intimate, chosen, not romantically necessarily, but spiritually. She understood Jesus not just as a man, but as a vessel of divine wisdom, and she got it in ways the other disciples struggled to. So why bury all this? Simple. A spiritually awakened woman who carried divine knowledge didn't fit the system. The church was built on hierarchy, male authority, and control. But Mary Magdalene broke that model. She didn't go through priests. She didn't need permission. She received direct revelation, and that kind of woman couldn't be canonized. She had to be criminalized. So they turned her into a sinner, erased her gospel, and replaced wisdom with shame. But her real story, it still speaks, because Mary Magdalene represents inner authority, sacred feminine wisdom, the power of direct spiritual experience. She reminds us that truth isn't always loud, that real faith doesn't always look like doctrine, and that sometimes the most awakened souls are the ones religion tried hardest to silence. Mary Magdalene wasn't a harlot. She was a prophet, a mystic, a teacher, and maybe the first true apostle of awakening. The church tried to bury her, but her truth is rising again. And once you know the real story, you can't go back to the version they sold you. Be well and soulful.